The crash and the stranger. The wind howled across the desert moon. Sandstorms danced like angry spirits under the purple sky. Callan pulled his coat tighter around his body as he walked over the rocky path. His scanner beeped again stronger. This time, it's close. He muttered he had picked up a distress signal 3 hours ago while repairing his comm station. He didn't expect much. Maybe a broken droid or an old escape pod. But this signal was different old tech, rare frequency. And scared. He could feel it. Someone or something was calling for help. He reached the edge of the ridge. Below it, half buried in sand, was the wreck of a small starship. Its metal was scorched. The tail was missing. One wing was twisted like it had been torn off mid-air. Smoke still rose from the broken hull. Survivors? Callan whispered He climbed down carefully and approached the ship. Blaster in one hand, scanner in the other. The cockpit was crushed, the outer hatch jammed. But the cargo bay door hanging, half open, was wide enough to slip inside. He took a breath and entered. Inside was dark and cold. Broken lights flickered. Blood on the floor, but no bodies. Something moved near the corner. A soft sound like breathing. He raised his blaster. "Don't move," he said. "I'm not here to hurt you. Unless you give me a reason." Then he saw her. She was curled up against the wall, shivering. Her skin was pale blue with glowing lines running down her arms. She wore torn robes of royal design, once beautiful, now dirty and blood-stained. And behind her, wings. They were broken, cracked, feathers torn. Wires ran through the base, like someone had tried to fix them with tech. One wing was hanging, lifeless. The other had holes burned right through. She looked up at him, eyes wide and glowing faintly violet. Not human. Not even close. Callan had seen her kind before in old war, files and ancient photos. Alari. A once proud winged race that vanished after the Great Sky War. But this one looked nothing like the stories. They called Alari beautiful, fierce, powerful. She looked weak, afraid, and ugly. That's what most would say. Her face was too thin. One side burned. Her wings useless. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft and cracked. "Please, don't kill me." Callan lowered his blaster, but kept his eyes sharp. "I won't," he said, "unless you give me a reason." She didn't speak again. Just stared. He slowly walked over, knelt down, and looked at her injuries. "What happened to you?" He asked. No answer. He saw a mark on her neck burned into the skin. A slave code. Fresh. His chest tightened. Someone had captured her, then shot her down. And now she was alone, broken and forgotten in the middle of nowhere. He sighed and shook. His head. Great. Why is it always me? He stood up and offered his hand. She flinched. "You want to die here, fine. But if you want a second chance, come with me." She looked at him like he was a ghost. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold. So light. Like she could float away if the wind blew harder. Callan helped her stand. She almost fell, but he caught her. "Easy," he said. "You've lost a lot of blood. Those wings of yours. They're not flight ready, are they?" She didn't respond. He led her out of the wreck. The sandstorm was starting again, harder. This time, he pulled his coat over her. Name? A whisper. Vera. That was all he needed. He activated his hoverbike and placed her gently on the seat. She winced, but said nothing. As they rode back to his bunker, he glanced at her. Her eyes were closed. Her face calm now. But her wings, what was left of them, twitched every time thunder cracked. He didn't know why he helped her. Maybe because she looked more human than some of the monsters he had fought in the war. Maybe because when he saw her wings, He saw more than just scars. He saw someone who had once flown and had been torn down by people who feared her strength. He didn't care what the galaxy called her. Ugly, broken, useless dot to him. She was someone worth saving, and he knew deep down this girl's story was. Far from over Dot, her wings were not the only thing broken. Callan's underground bunker was small, hidden beneath the rock cliffs. A leftover from the war, it was filled with tools, power cells, and parts of ships that would never fly again. But tonight, it had something it never held before a guest. He laid Vera gently on a cot, dimmed the lights, and brought her water. She didn't drink. She didn't speak. Just stared at the metal ceiling as if waiting for it to fall. Callan pulled up a chair, watching her from a distance. He didn't ask questions. He just waited. Hours passed. She barely moved. Then, quietly, she whispered, "Why?" Callan blinked. "Why what?" Her voice cracked like dry leaves. "Why save me? You don't even know who I am." Callan leaned forward. "You were alone. You were hurt. That's enough." She looked at him now, not angry, not grateful, just tired. "No one helps the broken," she said. Not without reason. Callan stood and walked over to his workbench. He didn't reply at first. Instead, he started working fixing a broken power converter. Sparks flew. The soft hum of energy filled the air. "You know," he finally said, "machines break all the time. Doesn't mean we throw them away. Sometimes it just means they need the right hands." Vera turned her head slightly. Her wings shifted and high. She winced in pain. Callan noticed. "They hurt?" She nodded. He gently approached with a scanner. "I won't touch unless you say it's okay." A pause, then she nodded again. The scan showed deep internal damage. Bone, tech, and nerve endings all mixed together. Her wings weren't just part of her. They were everything to her kind. And now they were barely holding together. "Someone did this to you?" he said quietly. Vera's jaw tightened. Her eyes closed. "They called me cursed," she said. "My wings never worked like theirs. I flew slower. I couldn't keep formation. I failed the rite of sky. So they branded me." Callan frowned. "Your own people?" She nodded. "I tried to fix them myself. Added tech, wires, it made things. Worse, they said I dishonored my bloodline, that I was unworthy of wings." A deep silence fell between them. Then she looked at him, really looked. "Why do humans always stare at me like I'm broken beyond repair?" Callan didn't blink. "Because they're blind." She stared. "I've seen beauty in a war zone. I've seen monsters with pretty faces. You think wings make you worthy?" He said softly, "I think you've already proven your worth just by surviving." Vera's lips parted slightly. For the first time, she didn't look like she was about to collapse. Just then, the alarm flashed red. Callan jumped up and checked the monitor. "What is it?" she asked. He narrowed his eyes. "Someone pinged my perimeter beacon. That means they're searching the area." Vera's breath caught. "They found me." Callan grabbed his blaster and a small pulse shield. "Not yet, but they're close." He turned to her. "You're not safe here anymore. We'll move at dawn." She tried to sit up, but her wings dragged her back down. "Leave me," she whispered. "You'll die because of me." Callan shook his head. "I'm already dead, Vera," he said. "I died the day I stopped fighting for people who mattered." He stepped forward and reached for her hand. "You're not just a broken princess. You're someone they fear, and that means you still have power." Her eyes welled with something, maybe tears, maybe anger, maybe hope. But for the first time, she didn't pull her hand away. They came for her. He stayed. The night was silent, but not for long. Callan sat in the dark, staring at the motion sensor screen. 3 red dots, moving fast. About 400 meters from his bunker. They were here. He grabbed his rifle, slung on his armor vest, and loaded 2 thermal charges. His breath was steady, his hands calm. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because fear had become normal. Vir. A sat up slowly on the cot, wings wrapped around her like a shield. Her face was pale. "They won't talk," she whispered. "They'll kill us both." Callan looked at her. "Then we'll make them regret coming." He pulled a crate from under the floor. Inside were pulse traps, EMP spikes, and old war gadgets he hoped he'd never use again. He planted them near the entrance, one by the door, one in the ceiling vent, one just outside in the sand. The air felt heavy now. Vera moved to stand, but stumbled. Her wings dragged behind her. "Don't. Save your strength." She leaned against the wall. "You don't understand," she said. "They're not just soldiers. They're cleaners. My people send them when they want to erase a mistake completely." Callan gave a cold laugh. "I've met a few of those in my time." He looked her in the eyes. "They'll find out I'm not easy to erase." Outside, the sand shifted. A metallic hum grew louder. Hover bikes. Then silence. Then boom. One of his traps exploded, lighting up the bunker entrance in orange fire. Callan raised his rifle. A tall figure stepped through the smoke-black armor, a glowing helmet and a plasma blade humming in his hand. He didn't speak. He pointed. "Right." At Vira. She froze. "His name is Relic," she whispered. "I remember him. He trained us to fly. He's the one who ripped my wing." Callan didn't wait. He fired. The bolt hit the cleaner in the chest, but the armor absorbed it. "Move!" Callan shouted. He threw the last EMP spike. The room pulsed blue. The lights flickered. The plasma blade died for just a second, but it was enough. Callan tackled Relic into the wall. The 2 men crashed, fists and elbows flying. Callan wasn't stronger. He wasn't faster, but he was angrier. And he wasn't fighting for himself. The cleaner slammed Callan against the wall. Sparks flew. Blood dripped from Callan's mouth. Then a sharp whistling sound. A pulse dart hit Relic in the neck. Callan looked up. Vira. Holding his old pulse, pistol with shaking hands. Relic dropped to one knee, dazed. Callan grabbed a wrench and slammed it across the helmet once, twice until the visor cracked, and the man dropped, unconscious. Silence again. Only the hum of failing systems and their breathing filled the room. Vera dropped the pistol. Her body trembled. Callan walked over and steadied her. "You saved me," she said, voice weak. He gave a tired grin. "I thought we were keeping score?" She looked down. "I've never fought back before." "You did more than fight." He looked at the downed cleaner. "You chose to stand." Then Callan's eyes darkened as the screen flashed again, too. More dots. "They're not done." Vera stepped forward. "We can't stay." Callan nodded. "Then we run. But next time, we don't just run, we fight smarter." She raised her eyes to meet his. "You're not afraid of them?" He shook his head. "No, I'm afraid of what you'll become if you keep running forever." A long pause. Then she whispered, "Then don't let go of me." Callan offered his hand, and once again she took it. Her past was fire and wings. Sun was rising over the canyon cliffs as Callan's small transport flew low across the desert. The engines coughed with every gust of wind, but they held steady. Vera sat in the co-pilot's seat, silent. Her wings were wrapped around her like a cloak. Her eyes didn't blink. They just stared ahead, watching the sky like it might fall again. Callan glanced at her. "You okay?" No answer. He didn't press. He just flew. They landed inside a forgotten mining facility, half buried in dust, long abandoned. It would do for now. As Callan checked the generator, he heard her voice behind him. Soft, cold, broken. I used to love the sky. He turned. Vera stood in the doorway, the light casting shadows across her wings. Back home, she continued, we trained from childhood. Our wings were our pride, our spirit, our freedom. She stepped into the room. Her voice was calm, but each word cut deeper than a blade. I was born smaller than the others. My wings took longer to grow. I flew slower. I always fell behind. Callan listened, not saying a word. During the ride of sky, we fly through fire winds. It's our way to prove we are warriors, flyers, worthy of the bloodline. Her fists clenched. I failed. My right wing locked midair. I crashed in front of the high nest. They laughed. Some said I faked the fall for attention. She looked at Callan now. Her eyes were wet. That night, I was taken from my family, stripped of my name, marked. She pulled her robe aside and showed him the burn on her side. A symbol, twisted, ugly, permanent. They told me I didn't deserve wings. They called me a stain on our kind. Callan took a slow step forward, and then her wings twitched. A soft, painful flutter. I ran, found an old trader who gave me tech, said he could fix me. I wired my wings with machines, tried to fly. Again, a bitter laugh escaped her lips. The tech failed mid-flight. My wings tore open. I fell into the canyons. That's where the hunters found me. I wasn't a princess anymore. I was a target. Silence filled the room. Callan stepped. Closer. Slowly, gently. You didn't fall because you were weak, he said. You fell because they never gave you a real chance. She looked at him, eyes hard. What do you see when you look at me? He stepped beside her, eyes locked on hers. I see someone who should have burned the sky ... and still might. Her. Lips trembled. Callan reached out his hand, barely touching one of her wings. It trembled, but didn't pull away. These wings? He whispered. They're not broken. They're scarred. And scars tell stories worth remembering. For a moment, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was sacred dot, then the lights flickered. The motion sensor blinked red again. Callan cursed and checked the scanner. They're still tracking us. Moving fast. Vera looked at him, but something had changed in her eyes. The fear was still there, but beneath it ... was fire. Then I'll stop running. Callan blinked. You can't fight in your condition. She stepped forward. Her wings slowly opened just a little. Feathers shimmered in the light. The edges cracked, the tech still sparking, but her spine was straight. I won't fight as a princess. I'll fight as Vera, the one they tried to erase. Callan nodded slowly. Then let's make sure they never forget your name again. Flight or fire. The ground shook as the enemy drop pods slammed into the canyon floor. Dust clouds rose high. Into the sky. Inside the old mining station, Callan loaded his rifle. His eyes stayed on the door, but his thoughts were on her VIR, a dot. She stood behind him, silent. Her wings, though torn and sparking, were no longer folded. She stood taller now, not healed but awakened. They brought 5 this time, Callan said, heavily armed. High-grade armor. Then we break the armor. Vera replied softly. She reached for a plasma blade hanging on the wall one Callan had kept from his war days. It was too big for her hands. But she gripped it anyway. You sure about this? He asked. Vera nodded. If I fall again, ... I fall standing. They moved to the edge of the facility. Outside, the sun was rising, casting long shadows between the rocks. Callan planted traps around the entrances. The same tricks wouldn't work twice, but they might by seconds, and seconds mattered. Then they heard the sound boots crunching on stone. The cleaners were here. One last chance to run, Callan said. No, Vera answered. One first. Chance to rise. The doors blew open. The cleaners stepped inside, black-armored, faceless, cold. They raised their weapons. But before they could fire, Vera moved, faster than before. Her wings stretched out, not flying but gliding, sweeping low like blades of light. She slashed with the plasma blade spinning with precision, every movement controlled. Sparks flew as steel met steel. One cleaner fell. Two more turned to surround her. Callan covered her flank, blasting the third enemy from behind. The fourth one grabbed his arm, slamming him against the wall. Callan struggled, but then a bright light flashed. Vera screamed loud and raw, and her wings burst into flames. Blue fire. It wasn't plasma. It wasn't tech. It was hers. Power. Long buried, long broken, had awakened. The fifth cleaner stepped back. She's rebirthing, he growled. We were too late. Vera's eyes glowed with blue fire. Her wings burned, not with damage, but with energy. And then she flew. Only for a moment. A short, rising arc, but enough. She slammed into the last two enemies, knocking them to the ground. The cave echoed with the crash of armor and the hiss of her power. Callan stood in shock. She landed softly, wings wide, panting hard. Her robes were burned. Her arms were shaking. But her eyes were steady. Are you seeing this? She asked him, chest rising and falling. Callan nodded. Double quotes, yeah. And I'll never forget it. The last enemy crawled toward his weapon. Callan kicked it away, then looked down at him. Go back to your masters, he said. Tell them the broken one can fly. The cleaner vanished into the shadows, limping. The battle was over, but something greater had begun. Vera dropped to her knees, exhausted. Callan ran to her side, held her gently. Her voice was a whisper. I didn't fly far. You flew enough, Callan said. And that's just the start. They looked at the rising sun through the broken roof above. Vera leaned into him, her wing wrapping around his back. He chose her anyway. 3 days passed. The sky was quiet now. No more drop pods. No more red dots on scanners. The hunters were gone for now. Callan stood on the cliff's edge, looking out over the desert. He held a cup of warm synth tea in one hand, rifle on his back, dust in his boots. He looked tired, but something had changed. Behind him, he heard soft footsteps. Lighter than before, Vera stood in the morning light, her silhouette framed by the rising sun. Her wings had healed, not completely, but enough to lift, enough to move with grace. The fire that had once broken her now lived inside her. She wore a long coat Callan had given her. It didn't fit perfectly, but she wore it like a second skin. You're leaving? She asked quietly. Callan didn't turn yet. Thinking about it. There's a trading outpost east of here. Maybe find a new ship. Start fresh. Vera stepped beside him. The wind moved through her hair. Her eyes watched his face. I'll come with you, she said. He looked at her, surprised. You sure? You've got your wings back. You could go home. Her face darkened. That place was never home. She paused. You're the only one who ever looked at me like I wasn't a mistake. Callan smiled, just a little. You're not a mistake, Vera. You're the bravest soul I've ever met. She turned her head slightly. Most humans would have left me in that wreck, or turned me in for credits. He shrugged. I'm not most humans. She stepped closer. Why did you really stay, Callan? He looked down at her wings, scarred, rewired, glowing softly. Because when I saw your wings, I didn't just see what was broken. I saw what could still rise. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Vera slowly unfolded her wings. They shimmered in the light. Not perfect, not even, but real. She reached out and took his hand. Then let's rise together. Callan gave a nod. They walked side by side toward the old transport, leaving the bunker and the paying dash behind Dot as they reached the ship. Vera paused. "One thing," she said. Callan turned. She leaned forward and kissed his forehead. Just a soft, light touch. Her voice was steady now. Clear. "I wasn't looking for a mate when I crashed. I was just looking for a reason to live." She looked him in the eyes. "You gave me both." Callan grinned. "Guess I really am that good." She laughed a real laugh for the first time. They boarded the ship together. Engines hummed. Dust kicked up behind them as they lifted into the sky. Not fast. Not smooth Dot, but together Dot above them. The stars waited. And behind them, the galaxy would soon hear the story of the broken-winged princess who flew again because one human chose her anyway.